This is the Leadership in Insurance podcast, brought to you by FinPro Search Partners.
Insurance companies are businesses and they need to look for the long term and be sustainable.
We went from 0 to 1 and now it's going from 1 to 100.
Insurance as a concept, as a kind of service, is brilliant. The execution is what we're looking at now.
I think the companies that are going to succeed are the ones that are going to understand and master the art of intent.
When we talk about innovation, we lean too heavily to think about technology and we don't think about creating a culture of innovation.
I think innovation is essentially continuous improvement of existing processes and platforms and product.
Right? It's got to be easy. It's got to be seamless.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Leadership in Insurance Emerging Tech Series podcast. I'm your host, Gavin Savage, and today I'm very lucky to be joined by the co-founder and CPO of MyCover.AI, Alexander. Welcome. How are you doing?
Hi. Thank you, Gavin. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. I know we met a long time ago in Barcelona last year in ITC, so you guys have been busy. We finally managed to get it in.
Yeah, happy to be here. I know we've tried to make this happen a couple of times, so it's good to finally be having this chat. And yeah, like I said, you have a new look as well.
You mentioned that before we started
Yeah.
recording. It must be the hair. I don't know, or maybe I've just aged in the past year with having a 2-year-old going to a 3-year-old. I don't know, but hopefully it's a good change.
Yeah, it is actually. It is.
Thank you. Alexander, I'm really excited to do this episode. You know, we don't get many businesses on from the African market. You know, predominantly a lot of the guests are from Europe, and in my case, most are from the US. So I'm really interested and excited to explore the market and what MyCover.AI are doing. But before we do that, I was wondering if you could kindly just, I think it's always nice and interesting, probably a good anecdote for you to talk about going all the way back. You know, I think your first gig was a Java developer, you know, all the way back to how you got into tech, and then I guess how you navigated along your journey into founding an insurtech in MyCover.AI.
Okay. Great one. Well, I think going all the way back, let me just try and go as back as possible. So, my name is Alexander. Like you rightly mentioned, I'm the co-founder and chief product officer for MyCover.AI, right? And at MyCover, we are trying to do something that is pretty much unique, but as a person, that uniqueness is sort of tied to who I am, right? And how it started with me. So I've always been fascinated about technology and what you can do with technology. And then, as I like to think, I'm one of the lucky guys that knew early on what I wanted to do with my time. And that was to make things with my hand through technology or through computer. I studied computer science, computer science and mathematics, but I majored in computer science. And I think even back in school, that's the high school as well. I've tried a couple of times to do things with a computer to an extent that, I grew up in an age where you'll be looked at twice, especially here in Nigeria. Once someone sees you with a computer, you have to be assessed twice. Like, what is this person doing with a computer, right? Hope you're not trying to do something funny. But it was pretty much like a fuel, right? Because I knew what could happen with a device, right, called a computer. And I think my second year in school, I started building softwares, like you said, with Java. And we had this community. We like to call ourselves like a very funny name. I can't mention it here. But about
I don't know, maybe you can. We can edit it out. We can edit it out.
Yeah, about four of us. For very good friends then back in school. We kind of like just created a clique where we figure out like an industry and decide to build a solution for that industry, even without the intention to sell it. But I've always been very good with, mixing business and that same technology. So I knew I wanted to build stuff But I also knew that if I build this stuff and it solves a problem, there should be a way to hack that solution for it to generate money, right? So back in school, we picked health tech, the health industry, the healthcare industry. We picked the let's say the school. I think we built about 2 softwares for the school. We built one for like a hospital management software. We tried getting that across, but we never did. I guess it didn't meet the standard as then for the hospitals. But quite a couple of them. I remember building a learning management system for my department then in school, and it did well, right? I had to run it across multiple stakeholders, and for some reason they bought the idea, right? But I couldn't really make that a business as well. So fast forward to after school, picked up another project, a marketplace. So the grand idea then, which is very crazy anyways, I decided to bring the entire, like the popular markets in Nigeria, to bring them online, right? These markets were already known to people. They're like the favorites. If you want to shop, you have to go to this market. So I just kind of like, you know what? How about I take this market online so that these people don't like, don't crowd the entire market? Because I remember going to one of them at some point and it was just filled with people, right? You couldn't turn left without touching someone. I'm like, can we just find a way to declutter this place, like to decongest this place? And because it was just crazy. And that was when the idea came, like, okay, how about you take all these markets, like all of them, and put them online, and then tell people to, buy whatever they need. They already know the prices of items. They already know most of the vendors. So how about you just create a platform and let them get these products from there? And I did start up the platform, mostly interior. So I started with the interior aspect of things. Did quite well until I think about mid-year 2018. A friend of mine did an introduction to a company that needed an expert in process design. And that was like my very first introduction and encounter with insurance. And after the first conversation, I'm like, this is it, right? Because because I could tell a lot of past experience that I had that could have been avoided if insurance was in place. And before that conversation, I, like many Nigerians, didn't care shit about insurance. Like, I didn't even know what insurance was supposed to do. In fact, I thought of it was supposed to be like for the old people, right? So that is like how uncool it was back then.
Yeah.
So, having that conversation changed everything. I saw how the community could have had a different experience, my community to be precise. And fast forward to 2019, I then realized that this problem is not really just about my community. It's really a global problem. And we've just been trying to figure things out with that. And like you rightly said, that was how MyCover.AI came to be. I and my co-founders, we decided to, go full focus on this. And it's been quite, amazing journey so far. I don't know if I did well with that, but I'm not really that adventurous, so
I think it's really interesting. Thank you for that.
no.
Clearly an entrepreneur, way from the beginning, and a very technical entrepreneur, and clearly knew your kind of North Star from the very early ages. And I think the classic case as well fell into insurance. You were introduced to a company that was dealing in that space, and then you saw the vast problem. How did you come to how did you and your co-founders meet each other?
Okay, like I mentioned, it started with an introduction,
Yeah.
a friend, who obviously knew my co-founder.
Right.
Yes, he did the intro, and that was when it was still more of a comparison, insurtech platform, which obviously came way ahead of its time. And I came in to help out with a couple of projects, and like I mentioned earlier, process design. And when you work on a problem and you really pay attention, you get to see other sides of it, right? And that just morphed into something else. But yes, it came as an introduction from a friend, a mutual. And when I came in, I had this, this strong guy, very good, better than me, obviously, technical wise. That's the CTO. We sort of brought him in then as a contractor to work on a project, right? But having worked with him over the years, when MyCover.AI came up, it was most like a no-brainer for him to come in full hand to work with us.
Interesting. And like, I mean, it's been quite a journey. You guys have had a number of rounds of funding. You were participating in the Founders Factory Africa and one of the more recognized ones globally in Techstars Toronto. So what a journey it's been. And for those that might not know who MyCover.AI are, would you mind just giving a brief overview of the mission and the vision of your business?
Okay, I mean, MyCover.AI really is pretty simple. For us, is about insurance, but insurance, it can mean different things for different people. So for us, our goal really is to power Africa's adoption of insurance, right? Using technology, right? And this doesn't mean that we're only solving the problem of tech, just building softwares. For us, at the core of insurance, we believe that a lot can happen if we can get everybody in Africa, understand, under the umbrella of insurance. We want everyone to be insured. So what we are really doing is to find ways to leverage technology to make that possible, right? And we've been doing that, like, in different shapes and form. And one thing I like to think is that we've been able to successfully play at different sections of insurance. When you talk about access, like I mentioned earlier, right? That is something that we believe is quite an important element if you're going to grow any sector at all. If you have a product and people don't have access to it, you obviously are not going to have people, or customers within that sector. So for us, as MyCover, is really, really about helping Africans, you understand, to adopt insurance, solving the different barriers. It could be the barrier of awareness, right? It could be the barrier of education. It could be the barrier of affordability as well, right? Africa as an economy, you have quite a number of people who, if you present the current or what used to be the insurance experience, you are by default excluding them from that benefits. So what we are trying to do is to solve that problem by, creating products that are tailored to their experience and their risk, but at the same time, make it as affordable as possible. And it's quite good to know that things are shifting really, really quite fast, and we are happy with that shift.
We've got a special guest on the show. Come here. Right, I know he's sick, okay? Just wait a little minute. No, thank you for that. And I think one of the things that jumps out to me is that in terms of the low penetration rate in Africa, I mean, obviously I'd love to hear your insight as to what the current state is now. And clearly there's massive growth in the country, and I think I read something somewhere that between now and in 2028 it will grow at a compound annual growth rate of 7%, reaching like 120 billion market cap. So why do you think the penetration rate has been and is still as low as it is? I mean, of course there's limited access to certain things like smartphone usage. There's maybe years ago not access to internet access, etc., etc. But what do you think? You've probably obviously done a lot of research in the market. Like, what are the main problems or barriers for you in the market at the moment?
Okay, I think it is almost like a recurring theme, right, is clear that the penetration rate is quite low. I mean, sitting at an average of 1% to 3%. That's quite low. Looking at the global average of 6% plus. And one of the things that we've seen is, like I mentioned earlier, again, is about awareness. A lot of the economies here in Africa, take for instance Nigeria, is also not helping situations, right? You have almost like what you call a knowledge gap. And then there's also the insurance scam in itself, people trying to submit fraudulent claims and whatnot, which is something that we are very heavy on, to eliminate and bring some level of transparency within the sector. There is also the problem of affordability, like I mentioned earlier. Most of these products are by default not affordable to an average African, right? And I don't think it's totally a problem from one part of the puzzle, and I don't think is tailored to say the insurance companies not creating a product that are affordable. When you look at things around, they also are trying to figure things out, find the things that really worked, or that works rather. But a good thing to note is that the market really is shifting, like I mentioned earlier. Again, I mean, there is what's the word now? There's a gradual shift in mindset for Africans, and there's something I discovered, I think, October last year. Just trying to understand this whole concept of embedded insurance at some point, which is one of the areas that we play in. And I realized that embedded insurance can mean different things for different markets, right? In terms of the goal you want to accomplish. By default or generic, embedded insurance is pretty much, integrating insurance into, other products and services that are not insurance focused, right? However, for a market like, let's say, the US or the UK, the problem you will be solving with that is a problem of convenience, right? You don't want Mr. Gavin to buy a device and then have to look for an insurance company to then get the device insured. So what you are solving for, or the goal you end up achieving with that experience for a UK market, is convenience for Mr. Gavin. But you see, the goal here in Africa is not really convenience, is not all that there is. What you're actually trying to achieve is the problem of awareness, right? You're trying to get insurance to people's favorite products and services, so that the more they get to see this concept called insurance, the more they get used to it and then begin to, ask questions, okay, what is this? What is the benefits? What do I stand to gain, right? So you see how tricky it can be. That is how complex it can be when you first address the simple part, but when you look deep, you see that it's way more complex, right? So looking at the penetration rate, you can't just pick up the data and say, oh, yes, awareness is a challenge. Yes, financial literacy is also a challenge. Yes, knowledge gap is there. The affordability of the product is also there. Access to this insurance product is also a major challenge, right? But when you pick each of these situations or each of this problem, you see how complex it can be per market, right? You can't take a template that works for Africa and take it to the UK and replicate it there. It won't work, right? So you have to understand the language of the problem of the UK, right? And then know what that also means for an average African, right? But like I said, seeing all that we've observed in the past with the market and the sector in itself, and knowing how fast Africa is growing, and more people are beginning to adopt technology. I mean, you have a very young population in Africa, right? A large part of Africa, I mean, out of 1.3 billion people, are all between the age of 21 to 25, right? Which is pretty good, compared to other parts of the world. And the growth of mobile technology, right, we've seen has actually influenced the growth and the situation of insurance in Africa, right? Another thing that we like most importantly is the fintech, right? It was called then the fintech boom, right? And most times, even when we are trying to create product, we try to understand how it was done, with the financial sector, with the fintechs, and try to see the things that we can pick from there. And part of it is looking for people who ordinarily are excluded from insurance and try to get insurance to them through multiple channels, right? So that also is helping with the growth of insurance, right? I mean, that number is quite impressive, right? If you're growing 7% year on year, that for me is quite impressive. So looking at these metrics, looking at these factors, one can say that everything is about to take off, right?
Yeah, my thoughts exactly at the end. A very, very exciting time. And I think is when you kind of touched on at the end, you look at you've been at the conferences last year. As I say, we met in Barcelona, and you've obviously molded your platform, and you must have had some learnings from there. But I think the what I really found interesting was the marketplace and distribution methods that you have at MyCover.AI, and also MyCover Genius, which we were speaking about off camera because I just wanted to clarify that they are the same company. But I think you really defined the term embedded insurance there in its simplest form. I think sometimes we can overcomplicate what the embedded insurance model is. But your decision to initially pivot from a comparison site to an infrastructural play, but have the two working in tandem. You said you were very excited about the MyCover Genius aspect and where that could go in terms of scalability, which I think is almost like a kind of SaaS model in a way, maybe potentially how it can scale. But from kind of your research and over the last couple of years, what was the market telling you in order to make that shift to be more of an infrastructure play, and how has it impacted your success, do you feel?
Yeah, I think one thing that we know and understand now, that we kind of like figured out when making that decision, was that you can't really innovate around something that is unstable. You can't build on a system that doesn't work, right? If you want to get to the UK, you have to book a flight that will take you to the UK. You can't book a flight that will take you to Taiwan or to Dubai and expect to be in the UK. So what we then realized was the fact that, there's a problem with data. Most of the insurance companies sort of build in silos, right? And that particular problem is something that we've seen help the fintechs, right? How you almost have like a central system where things can be governed, where things can be managed, where things can be, can be built upon, right? But with the insurance space, we realized that one, everything was literally everywhere, right? The insurance companies, like I said, were trying to innovate and build in silos. Then there is also the part where if you're giving me a product that I can't afford and you're giving me 20 of them and I can't afford them, I'm not comparing anything, because even if the product B is more affordable than product A, if I still can't afford product B, you still don't have me, right? You can't box, like a generic products or generic products for me that are not necessarily tailored to my experience, and then ask me to choose from that, right? One interesting thing again that I think is, if not the most important aspect of this, is the fact that people were not yet there to, and I'm going to connect it to what I believe you should understand in your own market. People were not yet there to have options to choose from. So even if you were giving them, or even if we, lots and lots of platforms, were pushing out products for people to compare and find a cheaper one or cheaper options, right? most people didn't really understand the concept of insurance, and it's still the case now, just that the trend is going up than before, right? It's trending up than before. If I don't know about something, it makes it difficult for me to want to find what the best part of that thing is. I don't know if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what insurance is. I don't even know the use. I don't know how it's going to be of any use to me. So giving me a platform, right, telling me, oh, get the best insurance from, from 5,000 products, I'm just going to be like, can I just go to the next one, right? So we had to pause, and study what was going on. And then we realized that, one, people didn't know about insurance. So there was no need, pushing that to them. And trust me, if you had pumped, let's say, $1 billion in ads trying to market insurance, you still get the same poor results of people not buying the insurance because you can't buy what you don't know, right? And the other part is that the product that I mentioned, these products were like off-the-shelf products that were not really tailored to the average African experience, right? And we sort of saw this happen. And then the other part is where most of these products are places where people don't even have access to, right? You see people who were used to paying cash, like for instance, in Nigeria back then, people prefer to pay cash for stuff, right? And then you take insurance product that they don't know, that is not so much tailored to their experience, and you take it online, right? And then expect them to go to the platform to buy it. It just won't work, right? So what we then did was to try as much as possible to address the problem of products, right? And we ended up, and this is something that we really pride ourselves with in terms of being our strength at MyCover.AI, is we decided to, understand these gaps and almost like a sweet spot, and created a product like a micro health insurance product. And to our, surprise, I mean, I won't say to our surprise because, I mean, we kind of like expected that, but like every other strategy, when you run a strategy and when you implement a strategy, you have your metrics that you are looking out for, right? But just seeing that tip over was a game changer for us, right? We created this micro health product, as low as 1,600 then, and this is less than $1, right? Okay, I mean, for now, approximately like 1 point something dollars, to be honest. And we saw a huge trend of almost like accommodating more than 4,000 people who, for the first time, were being introduced to the concept of insurance, right? Now, on one hand, you've been pushing insurance, pushing products that, that have lasted maybe like products that are like 20 or 10 years old, and people are not interacting with it. And then you launch this product. And then the first year, you onboard more than 4,000 first-time adopters of insurance. That for me is mind-blowing, right? And just as at today, we are currently running an average of 6,000 new or active policies on that same product month on month. So the first year you did 4,000. Now you are running month on month 5,000 plus. That for me is eye-opening. Like it's something to be paid attention to, and we've seen that work. So what that tells us is that if you push or pull the right levers, that the numbers will trend up. It's as simple as that. We've not seen that people actually want to get insurance for themselves, right? There hardly is anyone you explain this particular product to, and they say they don't want it. Most times they say, oh, can I get this for other people? And that for us is what we are trying to do, to get as many people who, originally are excluded from the insurance experience, try to get them to, to buy insurance. Last year numbers was around a total of, I think, 11,700 policies, on this product. And for us, it's just, it helps us, it helps us in this journey, of getting everyone to be insured, to see that once you pull the right levers, right, you see these numbers trend up. Is as simple as that. So making that
wow, I mean, that's
okay.
incredible numbers. Like, yeah, like I think the growth, and I think those numbers are pretty insane on a daily basis. But the one thing kind of wanted to ask was, you kind of mentioned you pull the right levers. and you can solve the solutions. Like in terms of levers, like from a technology standpoint, and you really talk about personalization, and it's so crucial for where you are in Nigeria, and I guess bigger than that in the African market. Like, what have been the kind of greatest levers from a technology standpoint from you guys? What's made, from a technology standpoint, allowed you to hyper personalize these policies to those policyholders in Nigeria?
Um, I mean, from a technological standpoint, I think it will be the concept of distribution, right? Um, as of today, we have policyholders from places that, I mean, that you can't think of. And the reason for that is we've been able to drive massive adoption through the embedded insurance concept and also through the products that we've created, right? And the fact that you really don't have to do any form of manual activity to, assess this insurance, right? These things they sound very basic and simple, but like I always tell people, when you perfect the basic things, you get the innovations that you crave, right? And what we've done is to ask these questions of what can we do with technology to achieve the goal that we have as a company, right? And the concept of distribution came up. What is the best route to distribute products to people, right? Remember what I told you earlier about embedded insurance, and we said,
Mm.
okay, it has to be embedded insurance. So
Yeah.
again, to the definition I gave you about embedded insurance, meaning different things for different markets. You see, in this case, embedded insurance is trying to achieve the goal of distribution, and access, right? You have access to insurance. You know that you can get insurance today, right? From most platforms. In fact, you can go to comparison platform and get insurance, right? So if anyone embeds insurance to a product that you are buying from, say, an Amazon or eBay, right? It's not necessarily a strange thing to you, right? Because you actually can get insurance elsewhere. But for us, this embedded insurance approach is solving that critical problem of access, right? And distribution. So that is something I would like to say that we've been able to nail. And the fact that we've built this robust infrastructure that is practically addressing the three core areas of insurance when it comes to delivering great experience to customers, right? Talking about the product creation, that is creating the product in itself, right? Being able to, have a product that you can sell to a customer, right? And then the claims aspect, right? Having this seamless experience that once you are, as a person, experiences this claim experience for any product that you have, you want to get more insurance for other stuff, right? And then the other part is the distribution in itself. So you create this fantastic and amazing product. You have to find a way to deliver these products to people, the audience, right? Which is where embedded insurance come into play. Now, when these people get this insurance, like we say internally, insurance is as good as when you want to lodge a claim or when you need your money or when you have a loss to report, right? So if you're able to nail that experience, right, what you're going to get is a fan, an advocate, right? Practically someone who is going to tell other people about insurance. And our last report, you see referrals contributing largely to new customers acquisition. And that for me is huge because we've not done any form of campaign for our referral program. In fact, where it is on the direct-to-consumer part is quite hidden. It is something that is not actively pushed.
Yeah.
As at the end of last year, right? But I mean, after the report, we've seen that people really want to move this thing forward for us, and we're obviously going to pay attention to that. So for me, in the concept of technology, I think we've been able to create a transparent ecosystem for our customers and for our users, where they know that if I see A and B, when I pay you this money, I'm going to get A and B, right? These things are not ordinarily accessible elsewhere. So we've been able to nail that part. When you come to us, in fact, a partner had reached out and shared his experience and was like, one of the things I like about MyCover is how intentional you guys are in terms of being transparent. You want everyone to see and know everything in the most and the best possible way. The best possible way you want people to know about insurance. So we've been able to do that, and that for us is at the core of who we are, because we are first a technology company, right? Trying to solve the problem of insurance with our company.
Yeah, I love it. It's one thing that when I think about my experience, similar to your introduction to now your co-founder, and you realized, oh yeah, this is it. Insurance is it. When I was speaking to Alex, the founder at FinPro and the host of the other podcast, about joining a insurance executive search firm, I thought, I don't know. And then, but at the time, I was going through my own journey getting insurance because, again, I thought it was for old people. I was like, I don't need it. And then you have a daughter, and you're like, well, if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, then I really need to have something in place. So the whole process took me like 8, 9 weeks, and it was all phone calls. And then I got 2 pieces of paper through the post to sign. And the jargon, the wording was all very confusing to obviously it's most of it is understandable, but there's a lot of stuff there. I felt like I kind of needed a lawyer to to make sure that everything was protecting me.
Just to
But
be sure you're not signing away your life insurance.
so it was I love that. I love that you're kind of look at yourself as a technology company first, and how intentional it is on simplification. In terms of where it can go for you, I mean, clearly from the distribution model that you have, coupled with the B2B and D2C element of both platforms and MyCover.AI and MyCover Genius, like you're growing the size of the insurance pie in Nigeria and Africa by distributing innovative products. Like where do you kind of see what do you see next for MyCover.AI and MyCover Genius, a D2C? But it seemed like before we started recording, there was like a little glint in your eye about the MyCover Genius. You were like, I'm really excited about that and where that can go. Like, so what do you kind of see now that you've obviously not cracked the market, but very much on your way. Where do you see in terms of maybe you have a vision of how many can we get that up from 3% to 10% the next couple of years? Like, what's your kind of plan for the next couple of years and vision? What do you see it? What do you see happening?
That's
Tough
trying to
question.
look into the future, trying to look at the future, right?
Well, you
Well,
got to visualize.
I mean, one thing that I like about the space is that you have to actually plan for the future while
Yeah.
still trying to, figure things out in the present. So, I mean, the insurance space in Africa is getting quite interesting. And that is something I can tell you. I
Mm,
think at some point, I think last 2 years, I was projecting like a period of 8 years thereabout for it to really become the thing, globally. But from how I see it, we might be looking at, as less than say 2026, which is pretty much less than 5 years to see that great shift. And what we've seen, especially in this part of Africa, Nigeria to be precise, is we're beginning to see a certain behavioral shift and change for even entrepreneurs. You see some of them trying to now introduce insurance into their products and services, and that is
mm,
non-insurance companies. And then you also see more and more insurtech come up, right? I mean, what we might like to think about ourselves as like the people leading the charge, is good to see some of these people trying to create their own solution in their own ways, right? So looking at that, what we'll be doubling down on is ensuring that we create this almost like an enabling environment for other people to build on, right? I had, given insight as to the problem of data. I've given insight as to the problem of companies building in silos, right? So you can't really make an informed decision when you don't have everything working in unison. So
mm,
what we want to do is to create that platform, that technology that, more ideas can ride on, right? We have currently, as of today, a system where for every partner that we want to onboard on MyCover.AI who wants to build on top of our technology, we ensure that we understand at least what you're trying to achieve with what you want to do. As again, just giving you this piece of software to build upon, we want to understand what you really want to achieve so that we can help in the best possible way. I've done a couple of free sessions, with other founders, who are looking into the space, trying to build something right on top of our technology to just help them with the products and the strategy alignment and all that, right? So what we'll be doing in the future is to be that platform that practically gives you everything insurance, that you can let your ideas run wild, like just build whatever you want to build, knowing that you have a platform, enabling environment for that to thrive. Another thing is product creation. I mentioned the micro insurance, health insurance product that we co-created, and rightfully so, becoming a very good lever to pull. What we want to do is to find innovative ways to create products that can actually move the needle, right? Such that you have more people come into the experience of insurance and then want to get other people to it, right? So for us, product creation is something that we really want to, double down in the future. And we see ourselves being like the go-to place for unique insurance products, right? And then the other part is something that we term a global problem that we look to solve as well, which is the issue of auto insurance claims and claims in general, right? Creating, like I said, a transparent environment for every other thing to thrive is something that we are looking forward to, right? And all these are at the center of what we believe in, right? When you have more products that are tailored to people's risk and experience, you have them coming to the insurance experience. Is by default, it works that way, right? And when you have the channels to get these products to them, it makes it easier, right, for them to want to get this insurance, right? And when they finally get this insurance and they can confidently say that they understand what is going to happen when they have claims, then you have a very good system that can thrive. So for us as a company, we want to, these are the things that we will continue to do, because for us, it is very clear. It is very clear.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, it's becoming very much building upon being a true ecosystem partner in Nigeria and the rest of Africa and global domination in terms of auto claims. So it sounds like an exciting few years ahead for you, Alexander. But I think that brings us very nicely to the end of the episode. I've loved this, and I'm really happy that we managed to get it in, and my relentless pursuit of getting you on this podcast has finally worked. So
hopefully we'll get to do another one and won't take the same length of time to put up.
Yeah, I'll maybe have some better childcare. But yeah, hopefully we get to see each other at some point this year. But again, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.